Last week, I took my last final exams ever. I wanted to share everything that I wish someone had just told me when I started my academic career many years ago. And this is going to be a video series of those exact tips. And these are going to be useful for you if you're in high school, in college, in dental school, medical school, master's program, really any level of academia. The first thing you have to do is really build a mindset as a professional student. That means that your job is to study. And to me, that means that every single week, including non-exam weeks, you want to be spending a minimum of 20 hours a week studying. That might sound like a lot, but once you break it down, I think it's really achievable for most people, even if you have a job or a family or other things going on in your life. And I think that the ideal schedule is setting Monday to Friday from 6 to 8 in the morning and 1 hour from 5 to 6 or any time after you get home from school for 1 hour in the evening, and then on Saturdays from 8 to 1, and that's 20 hours a week. And that leaves you with the entire Sunday off, all Saturday night off, and you have times every evening off as well. I think that those morning hours of studying are really critical for every student to take advantage of. And there's this book by Brian Tracy called Eat That Frog, where he basically suggests that you should do the hardest thing that you have to do in a day early in the morning. And I really think for studying that's really true, and your mind is a lot fresher and much more easily able to absorb material early in the morning. And I really do think it's fair to say that 2 hours of study time in the morning is easily worth 4 hours of study time in the evening. And always remember, there's 3 rules of studying: consistency, consistency, and consistency. So if you have this set study time every single week, you know that you are going to be studying at that time and putting in those hours, but your family and friends also know that you're going to be doing that, so that simplifies scheduling for you and for them as well. You know, people often ask me if they're smart enough to become a doctor. And my answer is always the same: will trumps skill. If you truly study consistently and effectively, you will get good grades. And more importantly, you will retain the information in the long run. If you cram the night before, firstly, your stress levels are going to increase a lot, but you can possibly still earn good grades. However, you definitely will not be retaining that information in the long run. So the next thing you want to decide is, where are you going to be studying? And going back to the 3 rules of studying: consistency, consistency, and consistency, you want to associate one area as your workspace or study area. And then mentally, when you get to that space, you know that it's time for you to work. Now currently we're in lockdown, so most of you will be sitting in your homes, but in a normal scenario, you want to decide if you're a library person or a home studier. And since everyone's forced to be a home studier for now, since you're all forced to be home studiers for now, I wanted to give you guys some things to keep in mind when setting up a home workspace. So if you have a home office or a separate room completely that you can designate as your study space, that would be the best. But if not, you want to select a space that's quiet, well lit, and not full of clutter. And I think it's also better if it's outside of your sleeping area or your bedroom, so that you can spatially separate your resting area from your working area in your mind. And a general principle to follow is: a clean space is a clean mind. So your study space and the surrounding walls and the general area should be as free of things as possible. And I'm not a huge fan of putting bulletin boards or tons of papers or artwork on your desk or around your desk as well. I think you want to keep things as clear as possible and minimize the amount of things even in your peripheral vision. And that's just going to help you with maintaining that mental focus you need to study really hard. And I'm going to show you guys my actual desk setup right now. So this is my actual desk setup. You can see that it's very basic. I picked a corner, it's well lit, there's nothing on the walls or the surrounding areas for optimum focus. And going back to the principle of a clear space is a clear mind, I also like to keep as little as possible on the surface of my desk. And that means that an essential part of every single workspace is a chest of drawers. And as soon as you're done with something, immediately put it inside of your drawer so it's out of sight. So going through my desk, you can see I have a chair. I suggest getting a comfy chair that you can sit on for long periods of time. And then I have my laptop and I have an external monitor. And my next video is going to be on my hardware and software setup, so stay tuned for that. And then I have a sticky note pad, and I always write a to-do list whenever I'm studying or whenever I'm doing anything really. So I'm going to make a video about that as well. A to-do list is really important when you're studying. And then I have a notebook. I keep a notebook always on the side for me to have to jot down any random thoughts that I have, or sometimes to make lists or mind maps. But honestly, I don't use it super often, but I still like having that notebook there. And the last thing I have in the corner here is a model tooth, actually, that I got from a professor. This was a gift. And I think it's important to have one small item that kind of just gives you inspiration on your desk. And if you don't have something like this, you can start with a small plant. I think that's also a good thing to have. So that's part one of this video series. And feel free to comment any questions or your best study tips down below. And always remember the 3 rules of studying: consistency, consistency, and consistency.